My name is Tim Cole, and I'm in private practice in a criminal defense practice in Fort Worth at this point. I was a district attorney from 1991, I believe, through 2006 in a small jurisdiction. I actually had 18 capital murder cases during the time frame that I was district attorney. I made life offers in every one of my cases. I always made a life offer, and then if the defendant did not take it, I would seek death. In the rural jurisdictions, you'll see that more often simply because of the economical cost of the death penalty. You could convince yourself that you've never prosecuted anybody who was innocent. I mean, you can do that easily as a prosecutor. But all the exonerations began to show me, one, that we were wrong more often than we thought, and two, there's no doubt in my mind that in some point in the past, more than once, an innocent person has been executed. And I don't personally believe that the death penalty is worth one innocent life being taken. The cases that the death penalty are sought in are terrible tragedies. I mean, they're terrible. But so is an innocent person being executed. I mean, how can you not say that's just as big a tragedy? It is, because in both cases, an innocent person's life has been taken. If we can't do it perfectly, if we can't do it in such a way that we never execute anyone who is innocent, then I'm in favor of abolishing it completely. One thing that should never have any bearing on whether the death penalty is sought in a given case is politics. But that's not the reality. That's not the reality that we live in, because district attorneys are elected officials. And so they have to justify what they do at every 4 years in an election. I began to think about the innocence issue, that probably makes the district attorney the most important person in a death penalty case, because although you're not sitting on the jury, you ultimately don't decide whether this person gets the death penalty. You can certainly decide that they don't by simply not seeking the death penalty in the first place. And so the door is opened by this one person. And I can personally name you, I won't, but I can personally name several district attorneys in the past who didn't need to have that much power. It shouldn't have had that much power, ever. And there are, I'm sure, some out there now who shouldn't. Good example of that I can think of right now is the Scott Panetti case. He is going to be executed by the state of Texas, and I think probably most district attorneys would agree at this point that he was probably not someone who should have had the death penalty sought against him in the first place because of the mental issues in the case. He's mentally ill, no doubt in my mind about that. But the process is rolling. The process is in place now, and it's next to impossible to pull back from that. Once that decision is in place, the system's going to defend that conviction. There's not a place at the very end where the district attorney can come in and say, well, perhaps this was not right. Maybe we shouldn't have done this. It just doesn't happen. And there are cases where it should. I think I would tell a new DA or new prosecutor coming up that you need to always be open to another point of view, another perspective, and don't be pressured by whatever the pressure might be into doing something that you don't completely believe is correct or is just or is right. If you're going to be a prosecutor, go into this with the idea that, I could be wrong, and that your job is justice. Your job isn't always to convict. It's to do justice. So you could be wrong, and question yourself. That would be the advice I would give them, and advice I gave my students is always question yourself. Always make sure that you have the right person.